In the beginning of the story, we meet Evie, who had been an orphan since childhood, and her entire world was just her elder sister. One day while the two were talking, Evie suddenly received a strange friend request on her computer. The sender claimed to be her cousin and said he wanted to meet her. At first, Evie was suspicious, but when the boy began revealing deep family secrets, she was shocked. He even said that their grandmother Emmeline had an affair with a servant before marriage. Cousin Oliver then invited Evie to a wedding. At first, she refused, but when he said their grandmother wanted to see her one last time, Evie immediately left for England. A luxury car came to pick her up straight from the airport, and she was taken to a royal mansion. She was even assigned a personal maid. That night, as Evie was about to go to sleep, she suddenly felt a cold breeze in the room. When she turned around, a strange woman was standing there. Terrified, her heart nearly stopped. But when she looked again, everything had vanished. Just then, she noticed a shadow sitting on a chair. When she turned on the light, she realized it was only her clothes. At 3 a.m., unable to sleep, she went out to get some water. That's when she saw the head servant training a new maid. He was explaining that they only had to work for 30 days each month, from 7 a.m. to 6 a.m. the next day. Evie felt happy hearing this, but she had no idea that something was creeping behind her. Suddenly, a hand reached out toward her. She spun around, but no one was there. At that moment, the maid softly appeared and said, "Madam, please don't wander alone in the dark. It isn't safe." Later, the head servant kept one maid behind for overtime work. The girl started cleaning, but suddenly all the lights in the mansion went out. Forced to light candles, she soon saw the chair in the room begin spinning on its own. A powerful gust of wind blew through, and the old gramophone started playing by itself. The frightened girl stepped back, and just then, a terrifying demon-like shadow pounced on her from above. The next morning, Evie was awakened by a loud knock on the door. Everyone was gathering for a family get-together. The bizarre relatives and their strange behavior had everyone's eyes fixed on Evie. Just then, the maid brought in breakfast, and soon after, she was sent down to the basement to fetch some wine. In the middle of cobwebs, rats, and an eerie silence, she was searching for the bottle when suddenly a hand landed on her shoulder from behind. She screamed in fear, but it turned out to be just her companion, playing a prank. The two of them quickly tried to grab the bottle, but strangely enough, it wouldn't budge. It was as if some invisible force was holding it down. At that very moment, a dark shadow appeared behind them, and their terrified screams echoed through the mansion. By midday, everything seemed calm again. When Evie returned to her room, she found a mysterious letter placed next to her dress. The message read, "I'll be waiting to meet you tonight." That night, Evie was escorted to the grand royal party. The hall echoed with thunderous applause. Soon, two other women entered. To the left was Victoria, and to the right was Lucy. Their families had been tied to the mansion's owners for generations. One handled the legal matters, another managed the finances, while the master of the house, Deville, stood as nothing but a symbol of power, luxury, and status. Before long, Deville and Evie began a romantic dance together. But the gentleman's desires quickly grew, and he whisked Evie away to a private spot. There he had prepared a special surprise. Colorful fireworks lit up the sky, creating a romantic atmosphere. The two shared intimate moments, but little did they know, someone else's eyes were already set on them. Later, around midnight, a tired Evie woke up and glanced at the same chair in her room. Thankfully, no one was sitting there this time, but she still couldn't shake off the feeling that someone was watching her. As she looked again, she noticed a shadow standing right next to her bed. Evie panicked and was about to switch on the light when suddenly a strange noise echoed from above. Heart racing, she immediately crawled under the bed to hide. Her heart was racing, her breath was caught in her throat. Suddenly, a dark shadow passed right in front of her. She wondered if it was a dream or reality, but the fear felt all too real. Will switched on the light and said, "There's no one in the room. Don't be scared." Then he tried to calm Evie down. The next morning, when Evie woke up, Will was gone. All that was left was a note. "Last night was amazing. I didn't want to wake you. I'll see you tonight." Excited, Evie eagerly looked forward to the evening. Just then, there was a loud knock on the door. Outside stood Lucy and Victoria. Pretending to invite her to the spa for some relaxation, they actually warned her that Will was hiding a lot from her, and that she needed to see what was inside the locked room in the mansion. Around the same time, the maid noticed Evie's hand had become strangely swollen and red. Before she could make sense of it, Victoria stepped closer, and Evie felt that these women didn't seem fully human. They seemed like something else. Evie unlocked the door in the mansion where she had seen the servant, Renfield, open with a key on her very first night. It was the same place where the first maid had died. As she stepped inside, she tried to turn on the light, but her hand accidentally knocked over an old object, breaking it. At that moment, she sensed there was a dark conspiracy hidden here. In the room, she found a file containing all her personal details and social media accounts. Terrified, she began packing her things right away. That's when Will appeared. When Evie showed him the file, Will tried to explain. He said, "I actually hate technology. That's why I had the servant print all this, so I could get to know you better." Then with emotion in his voice, he told her, "I want to spend the rest of my life with you." After staying upset for a while, Evie finally softened. Soon, the two of them shared another intimate moment together. The next morning, Will told Evie that tonight there would be a wedding banquet, and he had placed a special dress for her in the wardrobe. That night, as soon as Evie arrived at the hall all dressed up, every pair of eyes turned toward her. The feast had just begun when Evie asked a question. "Whose wedding is this? Where are the bride and groom?" And friends, that very question turned out to be the biggest mistake of her life. Will stood before everyone and said, "The bride is Evie." The entire hall erupted with applause. Evie stood there in shock and confusion, when suddenly Renfield came from behind and slit the maid's throat. That's when the real game was revealed. From the mouths of everyone in the hall, sharp fangs slid out. Yes, it turned out they were all vampires. The truth was that Evie's grandmother had once been Will's bride-to-be. But when she wasn't human, but a blood-drinking monster, she leapt to her death from the mansion's window. And that woman Evie had seen standing by the window on her first night, it was actually the spirit of her grandmother. Now Evie was dragged into the mansion's basement. There she found two other women who turned out to be Will's wives. Victoria forced Evie into a coffin and shut it tight. No matter how much Evie screamed or cried, no one came to help her. The next morning, the coffin lid creaked open, and standing there was the loyal maid Swift, the one who had warned her earlier. Swift told Evie, "Run. Don't look back. These vampires can only be killed by fire or decapitation. I'm ready to die, but you must survive." Evie ran and stumbled into an old hut, but inside she found heaps of human corpses scattered everywhere. Her heart trembled in terror. Suddenly, voices came from outside. Two servants tossed another body inside. It was the lifeless body of the brave maid Swift, the one who had saved her. Just then, 2 drops of blood dripped from above onto Evie's face, and she let out a scream. Hearing this, Renfield burst into the room and began feeling around everywhere. Summoning her courage, Evie managed to slip past him and escape outside, where the villain gets stuck in his own show of power and Amrita's long, dramatic speech. You know how they say, villains always die because of their own endless babbling. Just then, an iron wire tightly coils around his hand, and Evie instantly breaks free from captivity. But instead of learning his lesson, the villain still keeps throwing dialogues. That's when Evie lands a powerful kick and sends him straight into the blazing furnace. The villain screams in agony, and Evie pulls back all the monstrous form inside her. In moments, the fire engulfs the entire palace, and our heroine walks away in pure boss lady style. The scene cuts to 2 weeks later. Now the story brings in her cunning cousin, who's pulling a con job at some hotel. But little does he know, standing outside are Evie and her sister. They spot each other and exchange sly smiles, and the very next moment, they grab a baseball bat and march toward the hotel. And with this explosive twist, the movie comes to an end. Let me know your thoughts about the movie in the comment section. Also, subscribe to this channel for more horror stories like this.